Soul Simmers, and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video, I would like to go over all of your options to make family trees for The Sims 4. As you know, I love to talk about family trees on this channel as I believe they add a great deal of value to your Sims 4 gameplay and keeping it engaging and keeping it interesting. I have talked about several family tree services on this channel, but I never really made a full overview covering all that I know of or all that I would recommend to other people. I will also make sure to link my in-depth videos or my more extensive videos on the trees that I have covered so far in the description box so that you can check them out if you want to see more in detail how they work and what I've said about them before. Also, a little disclaimer, I personally use the Sims tree, so if you've ever seen my family trees for the Not So Berry or the Pack Legacy, they are made in the Sims tree, and the link that you'll find in the description box is an affiliate link and I do have a discount code. However, I'm trying to make this video as objectively as possible, and I would like to share for each app that I have on the list what my recommendations for which scenario would be, when to use them, how to use them, and what the upsides of that specific platform are. And then the second disclaimer is that basically any option on today's list is a good option. They all make solid family trees, and in the end, it's all gonna come down to your personal preference, and I hope that this video can help you decide which one fits with that preference. However, some of these are paid services, and I would like to ask you to stay respectful in the comments to people who do decide to pay for a service like this. If you don't want to pay, that's completely fine. I have 2 completely free options on today's list, but please let's be nice to each other. And with that being said, let's actually dive into option number 1. The first one on today's list is the Sims Legacy Hub. This is one of the 2 that I've actually done a full deep dive video on, so make sure to check that out. It's linked in the description box and in the cards up here. But it is the first family tree service that basically popped up as soon as the Plum Tree went down. For anyone who hasn't heard of the Plum Tree app, it is basically one of the OG, or maybe the OG, family tree service for The Sims 4, but the people who had that website kind of shut it down because it wasn't sustainable to keep up, and then a lot of players were left with a void, and the Sims Legacy Hub were the first ones to step up and fill that void, basically. So I would like to share with you what sets them apart in this landscape of family tree apps. So I think the most unique selling point of the Sims Legacy Hub is the way that they use the family tree setup, or the layout of the family tree. It is basically not your traditional grid layout. They do offer that as well, but they kind of use this network or web idea behind family trees, allowing you to tell way more complex stories and create way more intricate family trees for them. Another really good upside of this tool is that all of the Sims info, so traits, aspirations, careers, and stuff, come preloaded into the service. So all you have to do is basically do a little selection of what your Sim is doing in life rather than having to enter anything manually. They also, on top of that, offer the option to create your own traits, your own careers, etc., allowing you to also track modded gameplay if you have modded careers or modded traits in your game. Their UI is very simple and very straightforward. There's not a lot of bells and whistles, and also not a lot of customization options. It looks what it looks like. You have a dark and a light mode, and that's kind of what it is. However, that does make it very easy to use because you don't have to learn a whole new UI before you can start building your family tree. One thing that I really like about the Legacy Hub that I haven't seen in any other family tree creator is the use of shortcuts. So they have it linked in the text of the actual buttons what the shortcut for that one is, but it's so convenient if you're trying to build a big family tree and you just want to navigate through your work quickly that you can use shortcuts on your keyboard. For the Sims Legacy Hub, there is a free version which allows you up to 300 Sims and 1 tree. However, if you do want to have the full suite of features of this tool and you want to use everything that it has to offer, then you do have different tiers that you can use to subscribe on, and it is up to you to decide how much you want to pay per month for this and how much value you're getting in return. With that, we're moving on to option number 2, which is the Sims tree, which I have already mentioned, and it is also the one that I have covered on this channel the most by far, but I would like to still set it apart in case you've never heard about the Sims tree before. So the Sims tree kind of takes family trees to a whole new level, and they try to create an entire almost social platform around it. So it is not just a Sims tree creator, but they also have a gallery where people can share their Sims trees with each other, and you can basically read up on each other's stories. They have a whole blog where creators that are using the Sims tree are writing posts. I have actually written posts myself as well, so I'll make sure to link them down below. So they have really tried to make it a platform for people to connect who are passionate about storytelling in The Sims. Next to that, the Sims tree also still receives regular updates, meaning that the tool continuously improves, just like the Sims Legacy Hub, which I personally think is a really big upside if you're looking into a Sims tool. Something that is being actively maintained is always the right way to go. Something that sets the Sims 3 apart from the other ones on the list is that their UI is extremely clean. I personally think that the UI of the Sims 3 is so satisfying to look at. However, there is quite a lot of customization options, especially if you have the paid version. It does take a little bit more getting used to than maybe other apps on this list because the options in this tool are quite extensive. Another thing that really sets them apart is their community nature. The fact that you can share your family trees, you can publish them to their gallery, or you can publish them to a page that is then publicly accessible for everyone. Because I get to share the family trees of my legacy challenges with my viewers, for instance. Like I already mentioned, there is a lot of customization in the Sims 3, and this goes for anything. So you can set up your own occults, you can set up your own relations, you can set up your own pictures with a full editing suite. There is a diary, there is basically custom everything. This is really neat if you play a lot of modded Sims, or if you just in general prefer very in-depth and intricate storytelling. However, it is good to know there's nothing preloaded in here. So if you want to set up your Sims aspirations and your Sims career and stuff, this is all manually added, which I personally do not see as an obstacle, but I can imagine feels like a little bit of a hill to climb if you're just getting into making your first Sims family tree. Then another thing that really sets them apart is the fact that it's very storytelling focused. So they offer an option to make an entire picture gallery for your Sims. They offer a diary option where you can literally enter daily diaries about how your Sims life is going. So they're really focused on the fact that you actively keep up with this family tree to get all the value out of their service. This is not meant as a simple storage space for your Sims pictures and maybe like their lineage. It is really truly meant for you as an active tool to keep your storytelling alive. Then something that the Sims 3 does that none of the other ones does is they offer a version on mobile. It is a web-based version, so it's not actually an app, but the fact that they made the website responsive for mobile and the fact that you can edit on your phone, personally, I think is a great addition, because there's obviously a lot of people who do not play with multiple monitors, who do not necessarily play with like a very high-end computer. So having the game running on your computer and then being able to edit maybe your family tree on your phone, for me personally, is a huge plus. And then the last thing that I really like about the Sims family tree is the fact that you can link trees to each other. So if you're playing multiple legacy challenges, especially if you're doing rotational gameplay, you want to keep track of all your families and how they connect, the Sims tree does this wonderfully. It makes it very easy to have Sims from one tree linked to another because they got married or because they're best friends or something. And the way that this is displayed is super easy to use and makes it still intuitive to navigate the software without making it a very extensive, complex family tree. If you'd rather have everything in one overview, then I would recommend using the Sims Legacy Hub, because there the web kind of layout of the family tree allows you to still do this, but then all in one tree. The Sims tree does offer a completely free version. However, the functionality of the tool will be limited, and if you want to have the full suite of features, you will have to pay $2 a month. There's no tiering, it's just one single price that you pay a month, or it's free. Then we're moving on to the third option on today's list, which is the Sims Dynasty. And the Sims Dynasty is one that has only recently come to my attention. Something that immediately caught my eye when they reached out to me is the extremely clean UI. It is very simple, very straightforward. It doesn't look as decorated as the Sims tree, but it still has that clean, satisfying UI. Something that really sets them apart is that I personally think it kind of offers a middle ground between the Sims tree and the Sims Legacy Hub. It has the same UI feeling of stylish and simplicity like the Sims tree, but then it has a lot of preloaded things like the Sims Legacy Hub. So it already offers you all the careers and all the aspirations, etc. It also offers a small range of customization just to make sure that your family tree feels a little bit more like it's yours, but it also isn't as extensive as the Sims tree, and it isn't as limited as the Sims Legacy Hub. So for me personally, this one sits perfectly in the middle ground, which could be exactly the solution that you might be looking for. The Sims Dynasty also focuses a little less on very intricate storytelling. It is more a service that is dedicated to allowing you to make a solid family tree, but it doesn't have a lot of extensive options like having a whole diary and a whole photo album. It does also have a community page where you can share your tree with other players, so in that sense, I would say that it is quite similar to the Sims tree. You can also link trees to each other, so it also holds that functionality of being able to tell multiple stories at the same time and link them to each other, and they do offer some customization for adding your own traits and aspirations and stories and stuff. So it's, again, it does have the preloaded things in it, but it also has options for customization. I just would say, again, it is the perfect middle ground between the Sims tree and the Sims Legacy Hub. For the pricing, it is a completely free tool, but they do have some features locked behind a paywall. It depends on how long you subscribe for, how expensive it is. So the longer you subscribe for in advance, the cheaper it becomes, but they don't offer different tiers. Then next up on the list is the Plumtree app. And I hear you think, Rel, didn't you say earlier in the video that the Plumtree app is down and it no longer exists? Well, the people who took the Plumtree app down very generously publicly published their code, meaning that anyone who wanted to pick it up at one point could just get the code and kind of reboot the website. So that's what happened. There were a bunch of simmers who were very kind and said, you know what? We are just gonna re-upload this. We're gonna reboot the Plumtree app, and that's what happened. So the Plumtree app in all its original glory, just exactly as you remember it, is up and running. The only downside is that your old trees are gone because technically this is a new app. So if you have originally exported your old trees, you can import them again and you can basically pick up where you left off. But if you used the Plumtree app way back when, like I did, and you completely missed that they were shutting down and you didn't export your trees, they are unfortunately gone, but that doesn't hold you back from starting again. So what sets them apart? I think the first and most obvious one is that it is the OG tool. So for a lot of people, this will be like coming home. There is no relearning, there is no new interface. It's basically just getting back to what you were already used to. So that I think is going to be a major selling point for a lot of people to pick the Plumtree. Next to that, it also has the aspirations and the traits and everything loaded into it. So it is pretty easy to start using right from the go without having to manually set a lot of things up. It does still allow space for customization, but you cannot edit the lists. So it basically shows up in a separate part of the UI where you can still add your own things, but it isn't as intuitive as some of the other ones, but it does still offer that space for customization. I think another main selling point for the Plumtree app is that it is completely free. There is no paid service available. You get the whole suite of tools just for free, but I would say that with the fact that there is no paid version, that also means that the features that you're getting compared to some of the other ones on this list are limited. You get the very simple version of being able to make a family tree and that's it. And for a lot of people, that's going to be enough. And the fact that it's free is going to be the main reason that people will go back to the Plumtree app. But I personally think that if you are looking for something that will really truly enhance your storytelling rather than just document it, the Plumtree app might not be your best choice on this list, but it is a very solid one if you're just trying to keep track of your Sims family tree, and that's it. And then the last one on the list is kind of a wild card because it's not really a browser-based app and it's actually full-fledged genealogy software. I found this because another simmer, Gloria, also known as Yellow Llama & Co., actually covered this in a very extensive blog post and video, and ever since it's kind of been stuck in my brain as if I ever make a video on the topic, I need to make sure to include this because it is so different from any of the other ones that if any of the previous ones do not suit your need, then maybe this one might. It is called Chronoplex, and it is, like I said, a full-fledged genealogy software package. So you download it and you install it on your computer. From what I've seen so far, it only runs on Windows. So if you're playing on a Mac, I'm very sorry, this one is not an option for you, but it is completely free. I think from what I've seen as well, there are a couple of paid versions, but for a Sims tree, you genuinely do not need this. You can use the software as it is and you should have everything that you need. So what sets them apart and why do we add them to the list? If you want a more in-depth overview of what exactly this does and how to use it, I will make sure to link Gloria's blog post and video down below because genuinely I could not do a better job than that they have already done at explaining this tool. I'm just merely here to share it with you and introduce you to it and kind of explain to you why it might be a good option. But if you want to have the full in-depth overview, please go watch their video because it is way better than I could ever explain this. But basically what sets them apart is the fact that it runs locally, so you're not dependent on an internet connection. I think that is something that is pretty nice for people that might live in places where the internet connection isn't always the most strong or the most stable. It is also professional software, meaning that your data that you're putting in there, so like information about your Sims, cannot just be used in a way to display your family tree. It can also be used to create reports, to create timeline overviews, to create whole beautiful models around your Sims and their family overview and like how the traits passed from generation to generation. And it really allows you way more than any other Sims family tree app would ever offer you. On top of that, it basically means that anything you enter about your Sims isn't just plain text, but it is seen as an actual data point. This might go a little bit too far for some people if you're not interested in analyzing your Sims, then maybe this is not for you. But as nerds like me who do enjoy themselves a good database, that could be very interesting that you can actually run analysis on your Sims storytelling. Like I already mentioned, it has a timeline view, but on top of that, it also has a bunch of other views. But for me personally, the timeline view I think is one of the coolest things, because if you're a really big storyteller, and specifically if you like to play big, long legacies, think of Not So Berry Extended, the Ultimate Decades Legacy Challenge, then you probably have, would almost argue to say, years of storytelling in your Sim save. So being able to view that in chronological order and kind of being able to tell your story and maybe share your story in a timeline view is a pretty cool feature. Next to that, it can summarize your family tree with a click of a button, meaning that if you want to share your story or if you want to share the background of what has happened so far with maybe viewers, this could also be a really cool option to allow them to read up on the family tree. And lastly, something that I think is really cool, which truly sets them apart for any of the other ones, is that it has support for over 20 languages. So if you are not sufficient enough in English to use any of the other tools, then this one might be your option because they have plenty of languages on board. Like I said, the pricing is free, and I don't think you would have to ever pay for any additional features on top of this if you just want to use it for your Sims trees. So you should be just able to download this and good to go. For everything in terms of downloads and web pages and everything, it's all linked in the description box down below. So if you're curious to check it out yourself, make sure to navigate over there for all the information. As a summary of this video, basically, like I've already said in the intro as well, all of them are a pretty solid option. To kind of add on the fact that all of them are a solid option to make family trees, all of them are also allowing you to import your original trees from the Plumtree app. So if you already made those and you've been looking for something to kind of get back into it, this might be your option as well. A lot of them have free versions, so you can almost try all of them out. No, I think you can actually try all of them out without having to spend a dime. And based on that, you can maybe make your choice which one is the best fit for you. And also, I think the main feature that is going to determine what you want to use is the UI. I think you are going to have to test them out and figure out which one is the most comfortable for you to use, which one you feel the most easy to just onboard and start using, because in the end, the only thing that's going to keep you coming back to creating a family tree, which is in essence an administrative task for your gaming, I think is eventually something like a UI or the added value that you're getting out of it, like a gallery or a shared platform, or the fact that it supports your language. And that is so personal that I cannot determine which one is the best fit for you. If you do end up using any of the services that I shared with you in this video, or if you're already using another service that I didn't cover, or you want to share your experience with one of the ones that I did mention, feel free to hop in my comments and share your experiences. And if you don't have anything to say about this video in particular, feel free to leave your favorite emoji, because it does still really help with engagement on the video, and that again helps the video get to more people. Also, we've talked a lot about keeping your gameplay interesting. If a family tree might not be your cup of tea to keep it engaging, but you're still looking for that way to spice up your Sims 4 gameplay, feel free to check out these two videos that I have made where I actually talk about Sims 4 clubs and general tips to keep your Sims 4 gameplay more interesting, because I do think that those might be your cup of tea as well if you already enjoyed this video. Also, if you like this video, don't forget to toss it a cheeky like and head over to my channel. And if you like what you see, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. And with all of that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye everyone!